Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Rebecca from Australia told me she was sending me a birthday present and it would get here a little late, and yesterday it came in the mail. So I haven't looked at the present yet, but I did open it up and read the letter, and it is a book on Australian style bonsai. So I'm very excited. So let's have a look at it for the first time. There it is, by Stephen Cullum, Australian Native Bonsai. So I think it's a brand new book. It's signed too. Stephen did a workshop with Rebecca, so that's awesome. I love signed books. I think they're special that the author has his signature in it. So it was published in 2024, so it's a brand new book, and I had never heard of this book, so this is quite a surprise. So let's have a look through it. I haven't looked through it yet, so I'm just dying to have a look. So here's a look at the book. There's the signature of Stephen Cullum. Stephen Cullum has been interested in bonsai since the first potting of a gutter fig in 1987. Wow. Okay, well, let's have a look. There's a drawing in there. There's a preface. Oh, beautiful trees. Beautiful. All the different climate zones of Australia, where the trees grow. Oh, it looks a good book. I'm just going to flip through it quick because it looks an excellent book. I am going to spend hours reading this book, looking at the pictures. Oh my goodness, it's so fantastic. Okay, I'm sold. What a wonderful book. Is that? Oh my goodness. Okay, so that is a fantastic book. Australian Native Bonsai. Wow. I have a few Australian natives, not a whole lot, but I'll probably be getting more. Thanks so much, Rebecca. What a wonderful book. And I'm so glad people in Australia are using native trees and developing them in their native tree style. I think that's really important as bonsai spreads around the world, that each continent or each country develops native trees in the native style, and that way you get diversity all over the world, and bonsai doesn't become boring where every tree looks the same species, the same style. I think it's important that bonsai reflects the environment around it, and this book will sure help. So, and also thank you, Stephen Cullum. Excellent book. I really like it. Outside here, the weather is hot and humid now. It rained all last night and all this morning, really intense rain. So all my trees are well watered. I didn't have to water them much at all this week. We had so much rain. So I've got to pick out a tree to work on today, and I think it will be my Northern Bog Forest. I'm going to start with that one. Here is a look at the bog forest. So you can see the larches are starting to extend new shoots out, the second flush of growth. And I want to prune those up. And then the new trees that I planted, I didn't do a lot of pruning on them yet. I kind of just wanted them to get established and kind of recover from the repotting into this landscape. So I think they're strong enough that I can do some pruning on those now too, to get them to that conical form. So I don't think there'll be much work on the bog forest today, maybe a little weeding too. So let's get in the greenhouse and begin. I better clean off the desk here first. So I was at the thrift store. I had to go to the dentist this morning for a cleaning, and I was at the thrift store for $3.99. I got this bonsai pot. It's not a great price, like no big bargain, but it's cheaper than you could buy them in the stores. And these pots aren't the greatest quality, but they're kind of a fancy pot to grow a tree to a certain level in it. And then I got this candle holder. It's metal, and I thought that might make a nice bonsai stand. So let me just try out my jade here. It's in a round pot. Yeah, That's kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout for interesting things at the thrift stores. Figurines, bonsai stands, bonsai pots, anything like that you can find for cheap. Grab it, store it away, and maybe someday you'll use it in a show. Okay, here comes the bog forest. Right there. I'm going to start today by weeding the forest. There's not a whole lot of weeds, but there is some. It's always a good idea to keep up on your weeding before it gets out of control. And always try and get them out by the roots if you can. Luckily, with all that rain, the soil is nice and moist, and they're pulling up with their root systems, which is good. And you definitely want to get the weeds out before they flower and create seeds. Some of these weeds, when they get seeds, there's a grub in the soil there. Yeah, when they produce seeds, they produce a lot of seeds. And they spread all over the surface, and then your weeding becomes a nightmare. Now, a couple of days ago, the birds came in and kicked a whole bunch of this moss off the front of the planting, so I had to reapply it all. Just something that happens. You just gotta, part of the maintenance of a forest is repairing it from animals and birds. Not much you can do about it unless you screen in your bonsai. Now, some of the weeds were getting quite large. Let me get this one from here. And you need these long tweezers to reach into the forest. Otherwise, weeding is very difficult because it's hard to fit your hand in between the trees. Pretty well impossible, I would say. Sometimes it's hard to get the tweezers in even. Like I'm finding this one very difficult to reach. I think I got it. Roots and all. Here's a look at all the weeds I pulled out of the forest. So there's quite a mixture of different weeds in here. Liverwort, Scotch moss, these tall weeds that get the seed pods that spread everywhere. Yeah, so I was glad to get all that removed. I'm going to begin the pruning now. So the last time I pruned up these trees, I used the blue scissors and I just sheared them to a conical form, trying to get them as tight as I can. So today I'll just be using the regular bonsai scissors and just pruning up the long shoots that are sticking out of that profile. So here I go. So on this tree, I've got a vertical shoot here. And I've got to decide which is my apex, these ones coming out the front or this vertical one. So I think I'll prune off the vertical one. There's a bud near the back there. So I can prune just above that, right here. And this tree, because it's on the outside of the planting, it's shorter to kind of create that rounded asymmetrical triangle shape. This one I can prune back here. It's getting out of the profile. So I'm just doing little kind of detail work today, pruning up the new shoots that are coming out, trimming the trees up. And I'm doing this because if you let the top of the tree grow, the lower branches get weak and die off. So I'm trying to balance the vigor in the trees, keeping the top of the tree tightly pruned and letting the lower branches have a little more freedom to grow and maintain the balance on the trees. So this one I have a tall vertical shoot coming up, and it's a nice one. It's quite nice. I think that's probably my best apex on this tree. So I've got some buds up here, so I'll prune it just above here, like that. This one can be pruned to here. Always trying to maintain that conical form. This is one of the new trees, so it hasn't been pruned much yet. So I'm kind of giving it its kind of first good pruning today. And I always try and leave some of the new growth on the branch. I don't trim it right back unless I have strong buds. Here's a strong shoot out the back here. There's a bud out the back. And this one can come off to here. And then there's a few little shoots here. I can prune those back just to take a bit of vigor out of the top of the tree. Wiggle the tree around so you can see all the branches that are attached to it. So that's pretty good for this tree. It's starting to develop better. And again, this tree was just planted this year as a seedling. Now, I've got a spruce back here that's kind of wild looking. I'm going to do some hard pruning on it. So the apex, I can come off here, or it can come off there. This one, this is a very long branch. I'm going to take a gamble on it and prune it back into the older wood, like that. The important thing is to maintain the conical form, and even if you lose some branches, usually something grows, or you develop your conical form higher up if the lower branches die off. I don't mind if this forest grows taller. I think it, as long as I maintain that tight conical form, I think it'll look good. So again, I'm wiggling the tree, seeing what's attached to it. And I've got a branch down very low here that I can prune back. Like that. And then there's another little tree behind it that needs pruning. So, here I go. I think I'm going to take this one off shorter too. And this one a bit more. So there's a good apex here. I'll prune it off here. This one's getting long. This one's divided, so I can take the middle one out. This one can be pruned back. So the reason I didn't prune these newly planted trees very much is because, it takes a while to get a root system established and get strength in the tree. So they've had, a good amount of growing, so now they're a little stronger than they were in spring, and you can prune them back. And hopefully, the trees do well. Okay, I think that's got those ones. And then the larch out front here, you can see the new growth coming, so I'll just prune it back, shortening it all. I have finished the pruning, so here's what I took off today. So not a whole lot, but just a lot of new shoots, and mainly on the larches. But I also trimmed up the new spruce, so you can see this is the back of the planting. And these two trees are brand new this year, and they're starting to blend in quite nicely. The form of them, they're starting to get to the point where you can't tell they were new trees planted this year. So let's fly in now and have a look at the forest from the front. While I was working away pruning up the Northern Bog Forest, it was 40 degrees Celsius in the greenhouse, and it must be like 100% humidity. It's so humid out. And I notice now it's starting to cloud over a bit. So I'm wondering if we're going to get more rain today. I don't know. So with the clouds out, the greenhouse has cooled down to 30 degrees Celsius, so it's a lot nicer in there now. So let's fly in now and have a look at the bog forest. I'll put the bog forest back on the bench and get out another tree to work on. If you look at my bonsai benches outside here, there's all kinds of plants growing up beside them, and they're all raspberries. And here's some fresh raspberries that I got. So it's really nice. I've got gooseberries over here, raspberries around the bench here, and over the far end I've got the red currants. And it's really nice to come out and pick the fresh berries as you're pruning your bonsai. The next tree I'll be working on is my willow leaf ficus, and it looks really good right now. And you might ask, well, why would you prune it? Because it looks fantastic. The reason is that these extensions on the tips of the branches, they just keep growing longer and longer, and you'll get these big long straight sections. So you need to prune it back and get subdividing on your branches to keep the canopy compact and in shape. Otherwise it just gets bigger and bigger, and the branches start looking kind of stiff and straight looking without taper and movement. So I'm just going to use the blue scissors on it today, give it a profile prune, and remove any branches that are just not growing in the right place. New branches that have kind of grown in. Areas where it's dividing from 1 to 3 instead of 1 to 2. So typical pruning, but I'm going to start with a profile prune to the canopy. Okay, I've got the blue scissors out. So as always, I determine the height of the tree first and just shear the top off. So what I'm looking for, you can see these straight shoots sticking straight up. I'm looking for where it starts to branch in the canopy here. So right about here is where I pruned it last. So I'll just prune a slightly higher than that. So right here, I'm just going to shear it off flat at the top. Here I go. Now, I'm just looking, could I go down a little further? I think I could. A little further. So I think that's about as low as I can go before I start getting into my sub-branching. Those are all the new shoots reduced back, keeping just a little bit of the new shoot. So my next step, you can see it looks like a flat top tree now, is to round it out. So here I go on that. So I want that typical umbrella shape, so I will start here. Now I'm looking at the front of the tree. You're seeing more of a bit of a side view. And I generally round more to the left and right hand side than I do front to back. And that kind of keeps your canopy a little thinner up top, sort of like I do with the Sarissa. Now, let me have a look at it and just see. Okay. It's looking all right. I think it's a little heavy here. How's that? I think think that's pretty good. I think it's got the right umbrella shape. Just do a little pruning here. Tidy it up a bit. And a slight bit here too. Just to prune those tips off. Yeah, I think that'll do for the profile pruning. There's the side view, the back. Maybe I could take a little more off here. And the other side view. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So next, I'll go in and look at all the branch structure. And as I said, clean up anything going the wrong direction. So this work is just a matter of looking at each branch. So here's one shooting straight up, I'll take right off. Here's another one shooting straight up, I'll take off. Yeah, just look at the branch structure of each branch and prune it accordingly. Just removing some of the tips on this one. So that branch is pruned up. So next I'll go to this one. Here's a vertical shoot. Take that out. Here's one growing on the inside of an existing branch. I'll take that out just to thin it a bit. There's another vertical bit here I can take out. Stub I can remove there. Prune this tip back. Yeah, that's got that branch. This one. Now, there's two branches growing from the same spot here, so I will take one of them off, and I think it'll be this one, because there was one opposite it. Vertical shoot here I can remove. Take the tip off that one, tip off this one. There's one kind of growing underneath the canopy in the shade. I'm going to remove that, or at least prune it back to here. Again, thinning them out so each branch gets light. A little directional pruning there. Take this branch off. It's an opposite branch. I'll take this one back a bit further. Take this one out, it doesn't flow very nicely. That's another thing I'm always looking for, is flowing branches that smoothly transition, not abrupt angles. I want everything smooth and flowing if possible. It makes a beautiful looking tree, graceful. Now, some trees look good with angular lines on them, maybe the coniferous trees and that, but most deciduous trees look nice when they're gracefully formed. So I'll continue pruning up the tree, working out the structure here. Here's one that I can prune out. There's a cluster of branches growing at the end of this one, so I'm cleaning it up, picking my best two branches and removing the rest. Another thing you want to look for is the radial direction of your branches. You don't want them, you do want them radial, you don't want them like cranked over. You want them flowing out radially from the trunk of the tree. Yeah, quite a cluster here. This upright one can come out. And I've got 3, actually I got 4. This little one can come off, and then my most graceful flowing branches are these 2, so I'll take out this one here. Yeah, if you leave, a cluster of branches at the tip, you'll get this ugly knob on the end of the branch, and it doesn't look good. So it's always important to clean up your structure every time you prune. I'm growing towards the inside of the tree there. Vertical one here I can take out, another vertical one here. And don't be worried about your ficus looking too thin after this operation, because they quickly fill in again. It's always good to get a bit of branch separation. Keeps the branches healthy. To get light and air flowing through the canopy. If they get too clustered up, you get fungal problems. Branch die back from lack of light. Oh, it's looking pretty good there. Here's one shooting up. Outside here, it is clouding over. It's definitely going to rain again. I've already heard thunder. So I finished pruning up the ficus. Let's fly in and have a look at it. So it's quite a bit sparser. It looked better before I began the work, but the goal is to make it look better in the future. So when this starts filling out, it should look quite nice. Oh, there's more thunder. Yeah, so there's the canopy, and you can see how thin it is up top. I did a lot of branch selection, but it still looks good. I mean, it still has the shape, the umbrella shape. Yeah, so that's it. I hope I can get time for one more tree today before it starts raining. I just got the workbench cleaned off, and it is starting to rain outside. Just starting now. It looks like we'll get a heavy rain again. It's gone very quiet outside now, the calm before the storm. I'll show you the sarissa here. I think we'll just finish the video with some updates. I don't want to rush doing a tree. So you can see it's starting to green up really nicely after the last pruning. It's looking really good. There's some flowers I can pick out here. I don't want flowers on it. Oh, here comes the rain. Yeah, the flowers just take away energy from the growth. And, if you're putting it in a show, you might want to keep the flowers for the show, but otherwise, you just prune them away. You can see that peony style forming. It's looking quite nice. In the greenhouse here, the ficus that I was doing the aerial root experiment on, where I cut off the aerial roots and regrew them, that seems to be doing really well. You can see the tree is growing like crazy. It's huge. My other Ficus Fancy over here, it's also growing like crazy. It's really taking off now. The temple, I pruned it fairly recently, and there's new growth appearing at all the tips where I pruned it already. I'm wondering, I probably should have defoliated the 2 Natal ficus here, and I may do that later on. My Frankenficus over here, it's filling out really nicely. I'm going to have to drop the height of it. I want kind of the canopy more, well, as low as I can get it. I don't want this tall vertical section here, so that'll be coming up. Some hard pruning on that once again, just to get the canopy a little lower. I think it'll look better. But everything's growing like crazy. The Chinese village penjing over here is filling in nicely. Yeah, it's looking good. My Vietnam style ficus, I left this 1 liter to grow to thicken up this front trunk, and it's almost there. Just a little more growth on here, and then I can give the whole tree a pruning. My wintered olive down here, the one that Scott wintered got me, it's looking good. It's growing like crazy. Yeah, everything's doing really well. I can't complain. Everything's taking off now that we've got this heat and humidity. The baobabs are growing like crazy. I just recently learned that baobab trees don't fruit and flower until they're about 80 years old, which is hard to believe. Here comes the rain. So I think we'll end the video here. I think it'll be very, very loud in the greenhouse. I guess I'm kind of stuck out here in the greenhouse until the rain stops. I've already been wet enough today. Is it ever raining outside? Wow, it's like a monsoon. Tropical trees will love it though. It's warm, humid, and lots of rain, just like the tropics. I defoliated my fiddle leaf fig about a month ago, and it's just now starting to get new leaves come in, which is quite exciting. I always worry after I do work to it, you know, how it'll recover, but it always seems to come back really nicely. Well, just as fast as the rain started, it's stopping now. That was quite a rainstorm. Really, a really good hard rain. So I definitely won't need to do any watering to my outdoor trees tonight. Only the ones in the greenhouse and the polyhouse. It was nice being able to work on my trees once again. I've been away from them for about a week, and absence makes the heart grow stronger. And I think it's the same with pruning. Just watching these trees grow and thinking that one needs pruning. So it's nice to work away here in the backyard, prune up the trees. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.